What's happening, people? Welcome back to the Brothers Geek Out channel. This is G-Man out here in Singapore, and this is a breakdown, spoiler review, Easter eggs, all that sort of stuff for Miss Marvel episode 4. These are my takeaways, what I got away from the episode. The episode's called Seeing Red. It starts off with them on a plane on the way to Pakistan, Karachi, and they have an awkward conversation on the plane. I say it's awkward because there's a dude in the middle who randomly started a conversation with Kamala, as she looked nervous going to outside of or going to Pakistan for the first time, and then her mother's sitting on the other side. So this dude's in the middle listening to them, and the mother's kind of giving her talking about her grounding and building a truce between them while living in Pakistan. It was just awkward because the dude was in the middle and they're having this conversation. Anyway, one thing I noticed on the plane when the pilot announced that they're going to be landing into Karachi airport, all the passengers started standing up and picking up their bags. That's something I've noticed and I remember with Bengalis on a plane. I don't think it's just a Pakistani thing. It's Bengalis as well. Maybe it's Indian thing too. I don't know. But from my experience with Bengalis on the plane, as soon as the passenger said, pilot says we're gonna land, everyone starts standing up, getting their bags and whatnot, and then you got the flight attendant saying, "Can you please sit down?" I'll never forget one time we were just about to take off. This was to Bangladesh or Saudi when we were going to Umrah, to Mecca. We're just about to take off, and my guy stands up to start stretching his back and starts walking around, and the flight attendants was like, "What are you doing? Sit the hell down." Anyway, I found that hilarious because it was relatable. They arrive at the airport at Karachi and get welcomed by her cousins and her grandmother. I mean, look, I don't know, I've never been to Pakistan and whatnot, so I don't know how the airport arrival is. I just remember from Bangladesh, and I'm assuming actually I shouldn't assume anything, but it could be different or whatnot. As soon as you exit at the airport, there's loads of poor people asking for money. Loads. You get swarmed by them. So that's Bangladesh. I don't know how Karachi is, so I don't know how accurate that is. But I mean, it's, I guess you don't want to show that in the show. I mean, it's, whatever. But just wanted to point that out there. I felt like again, I know I'm no expert in geography and any of that sort of stuff, but I felt like they captured Pakistan pretty well in this episode. From the sceneries, from the shots in the markets, the final chase scene. I felt like they captured it well. Like, I felt like the directors wanted to capture and show the beauty of Pakistan, which is probably why you wouldn't show the poor people at the airport if that was the case in Karachi, but I'm not familiar. Anyway, then they make their way home. She has a conversation with her grandmother. Her grandmother tells her, yes, or very convincingly, that yes, you're a jinn, and that was something that she was told by her parents or her father. So, to her it was normal to hear this. The train and in the vision, they talk about the train in the vision. It's the exact same train that her great grandmother got. Came to India from the partition and whatnot. There's something about this train because at the end of the episode you see she goes back into a different reality, or that part where in 1949 or something, I think it was, where the partition happened, and that specific train. So there's something to do with that train and this story and the link. And obviously she's going there to find her great grandmother, or not obviously, but she's going to be in a picture somewhere to tell her what the hell's going on basically with everything. Kamala, not a typical Pakistani name. Her mother is a bit of a rebel, so she finds out a little bit extra about her mother. They go to a boat club and whatnot and find out her mother's not, a bit of a rebel. That's what she finds out a little bit. I like the fact the way they captured the market. In Bangladesh, it's the same thing. You're always negotiating with people. Not just Bangladesh, to be honest, everywhere. I remember when I lived in Hong Kong and Mongkok market, you're negotiating. That's what you do at market. So they captured that. They called her her cousin called her an ABCD, an American-born ABDC, American-born this. What the hell was it again? American-born. Shit, I've gone blank now. Anyway, it's just a term that the locals will use to American desis, I guess. Why have I forgot the term? I even know it. American-born confused desi. There you go. Jesus. Anyway, it is what it is. Photos, yeah, I mean, again, you're getting people hustling at the markets, man. Random dude takes a photo and then shots it to her for about 1500 rupees, which is about £6, which is freaking expensive. But that's what hustlers do. You're in a country where, you know, everyone's hustling. And then gives her basic directions, which is, I thought was hilarious. And then she goes to the train station because that's where she's trying to get answers from. Her grandmother kind of guided her to that as well, and all the visions kind of lead to that train station. For the first time, she puts on the mask. It fits very well. It looks pretty awesome, actually. She sees a mural of Ant-Man. Ant-Man's a big part of this show. He's all over the place, which is interesting. Maybe it's got to do with Quantum Realm, and this one has something to do with the Null Realm or whatever realm this is. But you know, maybe different dimensions or whatnot. So it's just a link to that. There was a quote on there that said you can start small and still be larger than life. So an interesting quote. One of the artists, it said there was two artists there, right? One of them was Adrian Apostolines. My bad, I can't say if I said the name wrong. But he's a comic book artist, best known for his art in Runaways. Obviously, he's also done some artwork for Kamala Khan. There was another name there, Samita Hussain. I tried to Google it, I couldn't find anything on that name. So maybe it was just saying, because they're in Pakistan, right? So that Samita Hussain is just this Pakistani name, and then it did say Adrian's name below, just to kind of represent that as well, because obviously, yeah. Anyway, Red Dagger. So we finally get to see Red Dagger that appears in this episode. Red Dagger is like a hometown hero. He's an anti sort of hero. Learns parkour and martial arts and great marksmanship like Hawkeye and whatnot, so you can see him for hours. In this show, it looks like Red Dagger is a group rather than an individual. So you see that, we'll talk about that later on, but that comes up. As they're fighting, it's a cool fight scene. You see her getting very confident with her abilities. She's using them so much more comfortably, but she trains more in this episode. There's a little scene in there where he calls her something about American, and she goes, "How do you not know I'm Canadian?" That's Iman, like the real actress Iman who plays Miss Marvel. She's Canadian, so it's just a little reference to her actual what do you call it? Not heritage. What's the word I'm looking for, man? Nationality. Goddamn. Anyway, they have a cool fight scene. I really enjoy that. They reference stuff like Donkey Kong and Ninja Turtles and just stuff that we grew up with or not. He says to her, "Come with me if you want to live." Terminator. I mean, that's, you know, classic line from Terminator. They go to a Chinese restaurant. Now, I don't know why I thought this. Maybe I shouldn't think this, but 10 Rings. I mean, interesting that in Pakistan they go to a Chinese restaurant. I don't know. I'm just thinking 10 Rings, some kind of link. I don't know. Anyway, Aisha is a legend. So you see that you learn there that the Red Daggers is a group formed. And I feel that it's from the legacy of Aisha and the protection of the Bangle or something like that, or the realm, or the protection from the clandestines and whatnot. Okay, so this is the part that caused a little bit of controversy in last one, especially with the Islamic people and brothers, and even with myself and Kibbs, we found it a little bit iffy, where they were, you know, calling them the jinns and stuff like that, and the first Muslim superhero is a jinn and all this sort of stuff. The Red Dagger guy, I forgot his name, basic dude, but the leader sort of dude, says clandestines are not like the jinn you have heard in religious texts. So I believe that's trying to cover, or that clears up that, listen, they're called jinns, but they're not the jinns that you're hearing from the Islamic texts. So for the Islamic people out there, don't get offended. It's clear, it's just a different context they've used it in. That's what I'm taking away from it. Maybe I'm wrong. Listen, I'm not fully educated in Islam, in my religion, as bad as that sounds. I'm still learning, but I don't know these sort of intricate details and whatnot. So maybe that's trying to clear it. There was a reference to Thor saying that even if he dropped in the Himalayas, they would have called him a jinn. So there's a reference there anyway, but I think it's just taking it away from that religious aspect and more into the fantasy, Marvel, cinematic world aspect. So, you know, I think that might clear up things from the religious perspective. So I don't know, that's from my perspective. I would be interested to see what more religious Islamic experts have to say about that, and I can learn from that, basically. They talk about them being from another realm, and he gets to show her, or is it exaggerated source of that realm? Why the hell did I write that? The bangle, what you seek. The bangle has a scripture on it. They mention that in the second episode, and he says that it says what you seek is seeking you. It's important to someone. No, what you seek is seeking you. So she asked, "Who is that an important message?" And he responded saying, "It's an important message to someone." So maybe her grandmother or great grandmother has, as the meaning of that. There's a meaning behind that. Damage control. Then we go to damage control, Supreme Prison. I wonder if that's the same prison as we're going to see in what do you call it, She-Hulk, which has the Abomination in there. It could be different, but I wonder what other supervillains they got in there, or superhero or powered individuals they have in that prison. But anyway, the clandestines, they break free. Kamran gets disowned. Call to prayer. So this is when Kamala goes to see her grandmother on the balcony. In the background, you can hear the Arabic call to prayer, the azan, which I thought was very nice. The hardship. She talks about the hardship of the partition by the English. I think that's something I wish I spoke to my grandfather about. He went through the partition. He went through World War II. He was in World War II. I wish I asked him these questions and got to know him better from that level and understand his stories. If I had an opportunity now, I'd put a camera on record with my grandfather and tell him, just talk, just tell us your stories. But it was obviously a hardship thing. The English colonized the area and they just split things up because I don't know what it is with segregation, and it just maybe felt to them like at the time an easier solution just to segregate people, but it just caused, as it does, as these things do, and it's happening now in the Middle East and everywhere, segregation and them things just cause nothing but bloodshed. Anyway, she meets up with some more, I guess they're more of the Red Dagger clan in the beach. They eat biryani, which is like a mixture of rice and chicken and spices and all that sort of stuff, out of a bag. I've seen those bags. It's difficult to eat that out of a bag. I get it delivered here sometimes in Singapore if I was to order Indian food. Very uncomfortable, but that's the steez. You have a little scene with the grandmother and her daughter, Kamala's mom and her grandmother. There was always seemed that there was tension between them, which always is. But the fact is, they both missed each other. The grandmother misses her daughter. She had these toffee boxes all over the place because it was just kind of reminding her of her daughter, hoping that she'll come back. One thing I thought was interesting, her mum massaged her grandma's feet. My mum used to do that to my little brother Ash, tell me massage my feet and whatnot. So, I don't know, again, another relatable thing just from what I've seen in my household. Ash always has to massage mum's feet. The grandmother and her theories, they talk about her mum's wanting to leave the US because her grandmother and her theories, so obviously got to do with the bangle and all this sort of stuff. And her mother's just in denial to her, or just doesn't want to know, maybe because she hasn't experienced the bangle and she doesn't know. So I'll be interested to see more of her theories or hear more about her theories. The genetics, okay, so they go back to the training ground or the Red Dagger hideout, and he mentions her genetics is the answer on why she can shape the Nur, which is the light power, in a specific way. So that's interesting. Genetics, right? From the original, her genetics was inhuman, with the Kree. Was it the Kree? Or the Kree or the Skrulls? Kree. So yeah, interesting. Still getting involved with her genetics, but just a bit different from the comics. She's doing a lot more training there, which is great because she's getting a lot more confident with her powers and how to control them and her abilities. So that's cool. She mentions her humanity links and to the earth. Her humanity, because she's human and whatnot, or links to the earth, is the reason why she can control her abilities in a different way. Makes her abilities more unique compared to what they've probably known or seen or something like that. She receives a new vest from them, so it's kind of like he mentions it. It's kind of like a heritage vest. The vest has hundreds of years of heritage, so it's something close to her and her heritage, but also a step closer to her actual uniform or costume, as we'll probably see it by the end of the show. So I thought that was pretty cool. Has Pakistani roots. Now I've spoken. The Red Daggers beats up the Okay, so the Red Daggers, they kind of handle some of the Celestines. Now I wonder, because they got powers, right? The Celestines have powers, but the Red Daggers were able to handle them, right? And they're humans with just martial art abilities and whatnot. So I don't know. I wonder if they got some kind of powers there too. Sometimes maybe they underpower or overpower certain people, but I just thought that was interesting. They have a cool car chase scene, or not car chase, but they have the cool chase scene in Karachi, and I don't think I've ever seen much of that before. They were in a little tuk-tuk. We call them in Bengali, we call them mishuks. I wonder what they call them in Pakistan. Could be similar. But I thought that was cool. There's a scene where she drives, she has to drive, or she gets in a van to drive away. Before she drives, she mentions opposite side of the road, which is the way the British drive, which is on the left-hand side. Pakistan was a colony of Britain, so that's why they drive on the left-hand side. Similar to Singapore and Hong Kong or whatnot. Any place that was colonized by British, they drive on the left side, I believe. I wonder if Australia does the same. I'm not sure, but I believe most of those places are. Anyway, she says Bismillah. Again, a link back to episode 1 when she first takes her driving lessons and her brother tells her Bismillah. She does the exact same mistake and goes in reverse and crashes. So she ain't learned nothing in regards to driving. The Red Dagger leader, he sacrifices his life for Kamala. I believe, well, Kamala or the Bangles, obviously he knows the dangers of them getting the Bangles, so he had to make the sacrifice. The fight scene, her powers, again, she's using them so much more comfortably, in so much more creatively, you know. So it's awesome to see that growth and her using the powers. And I wonder how deep it's going to get with her powers. In the sense that are we going to see her maybe grow in form, because she's done that in the comics as well. So it's going to be pretty awesome. Then at the end she gets stabbed. The knife, she gets stabbed and she blocks it. She blocks it with a bangle, and that takes her back. This time it didn't take her to another dimension. It looked like it took her back in time to when the partition was happening, and everyone went back to the trains. Again, this train is a big part of the story. This train is a big part of what we're going to find out, right? There's some explanation there. So she gets taken back to there where people are loading up on the trains to come to Pakistan. You see the hardship of everything and everyone going through, the refugees coming from India to Pakistan. I mean, the hardship for refugees in the world today is tough, right? We've seen it with the Ukraine, you've seen it with Afghanistan and Yemen and Syria. Unfortunately, you know, for some individuals or some people, they got nowhere to go. Yemen, Syria, Palestine, they got nowhere to go in the world. Whereas, you know, we've seen with Ukraine, everyone's kind of opened up their arms to them. So anyway, it's a different conversation. And then that's it. And then you know the episode finishes. It has the same dramatic music as the start of episode 3. So obviously this train journey that her grandmother took, or great grandmother took, there's a lot of information there. There's a lot that we're looking forward to. I'm looking forward to see that might explain everything more in regards to the Bangles, maybe in regards to connection to the Ten Rings, and all of this, and maybe how she can stop these select clandestines and whatnot, because that looks like the mission basically. Obviously she's trying to find out everything, but the mission of the episode, the big bads of the episodes are these clandestines. How does she stop them? Might come all from this, and we'll find out more about her grandmother, right? And the realm that she's from, and whatnot. So, or her great grandmother, sorry. But yeah, that was my takeaway. I believe there's 2 more episodes. If there's 6, I heard there's 8 episodes. I don't know. I need to do my research. But I'm still enjoying the show. I've heard that the show's getting the lowest ratings. I know personal friends who watch all the Marvel shows, but for some reason this one they're not interested in. Maybe it's the character. You know, it's a hard sell. It's Kamala Khan. Not many people know her. I didn't know much of her until recently myself, to be honest with you. Not the shows, but even before the shows. But I never followed her comics or whatnot. So maybe it could be one of those things. It's a hard sell on the character. But maybe people watch it later. Maybe because obviously she's connected to the Marvels, and if you want to know her backstory, then you've got to watch the show. Maybe it could be that. Maybe because Obi-Wan came out at the same time as Kamala, and people more focused on that. Even though you can go back to Disney Plus and watch it. But I don't know. I find it interesting that people who I know love all the shows and all the Marvel stuff are just not watching this one. Maybe it's just kiddish. Maybe they can't relate to it, or something. I don't know what it is, but I'm enjoying it. All of these shows, I don't care what they make them. These comic book shows, man. These Marvel ones, especially a part of the MCU. Whatever they make, I'm watching. Anyway, cool. That was my breakdown on my takeaways. Please like, subscribe, dislike, all that sort of stuff. I'm out. Peace.